Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency has rescued 27 survivors after a wooden passenger boat identified as MV Sony capsized 40 nautical miles offshore Calabar, Cross River State. The wooden craft, which departed the Ebohu Jetty, Mbo local government area in Akwa Ibom State, capsized at about 2200 hours on the 16th of March 2013. The survivors, who include 8 Nigerians and 19 foreign nationals, are undergoing medical examinations and further attention at Calabar and Oron-based hospitals. The Executive Director, Maritime Safety and Shipping Development of Nimasa, Captain Bala Agaba, addressed the press earlier on today to give the true position of events.
It's an unfortunate incident because lives were lost. However, I need to explain the role of Nimasa when an incident happens in the maritime environment. One, we are an Apex administration. We are responsible for search and rescue and others. Now, under this condition, when a vessel is involved in an incident, we are supposed to receive a maybe, which we never did. However, we received a call from Adas Petroleum because the incident had come near the field, and also some call from the General Manager of Public Affairs of MPA. Called me personally, and this was about 11 p.m. Sunday night. And immediately we got a message out to our people in the rescue center at Calabar, which is at Port Harcourt, that is the eastern zone. And then continued the rescue with Adas Petroleum that night till Monday. On Monday, 9 bodies. Emphasis is on the number 9. Only 9 bodies were recovered and taken to Calabar on the 9th on Monday. On Tuesday, 2 survivors were taken to Calabar. And on ground in Calabar, we have our directors of the zone who actually communicated the incident to the Marine Police in Calabar, reported to NEMA branch there, SSS. Everybody was on the ground when the bodies arrived. 9, and they were taken in about 6 ambulances and 2 bilogs to the teaching hospital. So right now they were 9. On Tuesday, 2 survivors, a girl from Benin Republic and a boy from Togo, were taken to Calabar. Then we took them to Nimasa Internship Clinic in Calabar. I think they are still there taking medication. That is the rescue activities as far as Calabar is concerned. In all, 25 survivors were taken to Oron, but they were taken by various trawlers. 21 were taken to Oron on the 18th, while 4 were taken to Ibaka, which eventually took to Oron. So those are the 25. And the nationalities were Burkina Faso, Togo, Benin Republic. That is the status of the rescue operations. Now, I've been reading papers, 45 dead bodies was in Calabar. That cannot be true. This is verifiable. You can go to Calabar, you can go to the hospital. So I don't know where they got their figures from. But as far as we know, officially, 9 bodies in total rescued today. Now, I've been seeing figures 160, 170 on the TV. That we cannot say because there's no manifest, there is no crew member identified among the survivors, so there is no way we will know how many people are on that vessel. So speculation is what is happening. I am not ready to speculate. I'm only going to state what we know. There could be 160 on board, there could be 100, there could be 50, we don't know. The investigations and the rescue operation is still ongoing.
The agency commends the timely response of the Nigerian Immigration Service, Adax Petroleum and Castech Engineering Nigeria Limited in the rescue exercise. Full investigation report in respect of the accident is expected at the completion of the rescue operations by the agency. Hajia Lami Tumaka, Head Corporate Affairs.
You are watching Nimasa This Week, the authorized voice of the Nigerian maritime sector. My name is Iritiola Doyle and you are welcome. Now this week proved to be a very eventful one at the number 4 Burma Road headquarters of Nimasa, as members of management played host to a very august visitor. Our field correspondent Amanda Akman was there yesterday, 20th of March 2013, to record proceedings. Here's that report as prepared from our studios.
The boardroom of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa was agog with excitement as the president of the World Maritime University in Malmö, Sweden, Professor Björn Sjödver, visited the agency. Very important stakeholders in the maritime sector accompanied the respected maritime academic. They included the president of ISAN, Chief Isaac Jolapamo, Barrister Mrs. Orakusi, and Professor Pat Utomi. The high-octane guests were welcomed to Nimasa by the Director General of Nimasa and its executive management. The president of the World Maritime University, in his speech, spoke about the university and its affiliation with the International Maritime Organization, IMO.
The World Maritime University has a long-ranging collaboration with Nigeria, going back exactly 30 years, because 30 years ago was when we were founded as a university, under the auspices of the International Maritime Organization.
We have discussed for more than a year already the stabilizing the relationship and strengthening the relationship, potentially through a series of MOU. With the minister 2 nights ago, I discussed an intelligent way to do this, whereby Nigeria will also receive special recognition by the IMO for doing so. The second reason for being here is that we were asked by the minister last year to assist by doing an evaluation and a set of constructive suggestions for how we can help potentially the Maritime Academy to come to the next level.
Responding to the professor's speech, the DG expressed delight at the fact that Nigeria was second in terms of student intake at the World Maritime University.
In terms of students intake in the World Maritime University, Nigeria is ranking number 2. That is quite encouraging, and I believe we should, in few years to come, be the number 1 in terms of students participation, because we know that the best way to go to develop the maritime industry is, first of all, to center so much on human capacity development, because the human element is the most vital element in any industry, but most particularly the maritime industry.
The DG also revealed his delight at the collaboration between the World Maritime University and the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron.
The issues raised with respect to Man Oron were quite enthusiastic for this new partnership. We believe that the partnership, once firmed up, is going to endure and should bring good progress to Man Oron. We also realize that the statutory obligation may not cater for the overall, may not be enough for the overall development of the institution. So last year we made an intervention fund of 1 billion naira, and this year we're making another 2 billion naira outside the statutory obligations that we are expected to do. That is to tell you how we value Man Oron, how we've taken Man Oron as our baby.
The director of the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron Joshua Okpo, who also accompanied Professor Bion on the visit, was full of thanks for Nimasa for going beyond its statutory obligation to the academy by granting additional funds to the academy, while he was also thankful to the World Maritime University for the decision to collaborate with the man Oron. Chief Isaac Jolakamo, the respected chairman of ISAN, also spoke at the occasion.
As of today, in Nigeria, we don't seem to have a continuous training program for our existing crew and officers. And we are not leaving this to the Nimasa alone, or to Oron itself. We are all addressing the issue of capacity building together. And we, as an association, would like to see the World Maritime University taking us along. Ship owners at this ISAN, members have invested in excess of $3 billion without anything to show for it. But we believe if people who are investing are also able to get trained on what they are doing, what they are investing on, they will perform better.
Mrs. Orakusi, the chairperson of NIMAREX 2013 Organizing Committee, made a presentation to the visiting professor on behalf of the stakeholders in NIMAREX and invited the respected academic to be the head speaker in NIMAREX 2014. The Executive Director, Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services, Barrister Kalisto Sobi, and his colleague, Captain Ezekiel Bala Agaba of the Maritime Safety and Shipping Development Directorate, as well as the ED Finance and Administration, Alhaji Baba Joru, also spoke words of welcome. After which Professor Pat Utomi spoke.
Many of the previous speakers have talked about our youth bulge. It used to be that decades ago, economists talked about this as a burden for development, but today we talk about the demographic dividend. And so, as we look to take advantage of our youth bulge to become one of the leading economies in the world, the maritime, which is really the gateway for Nigeria, is going to be very significant. I'm excited to see some of the programs that are coming out of Nimasa to anchor Nigeria firmly down that track.
The visit served as a reunion of sorts, as many alumni of the World Maritime University working in different organizations in Nigeria were present and were acknowledged. One of the alumnus of the WMU, who also works at Nimasa as a director, Mrs. Juliana Gunwa, moved a vote of thanks on behalf of the alumni, after which another alumnus presented Professor Bion a gift on behalf of all the alumni. Professor Bion was obviously elated and stood up to make another short speech.
Nigerians are wonderful people, not just the alumni, but everybody that I've met. Very impressed. WMU is not going to solve every problem of Nigerian society. We are just a small university, but we pledge to do what we can to help, specifically when it comes to human capacity building in the maritime sector.
In the usual gracious custom of Nimasa, the DJ presented a memento gift to the respected visitor on behalf of the agency. Nimasa this week later got a chance to speak with the visiting professor and asked him what makes the WMU the premier maritime institution many claim it to be.
We are very special globally because we belong to the International Maritime Organization, and thus to the United Nations as the only university. The other 550 maritime academies, universities and institutions globally, they respond all to a national government and are therefore uni-national rather than multinational like we are. We are extremely impressed by Nigerian students who come to the university. And one reason for that is that they are nominated by their employer. So we know that there is an internal screening in Nigeria. That means that we see the applications of the very best. And in fact, the Nigerian students who do come to the university succeed very well.
After several weeks of attempting to track down the Executive Director of Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services, we finally caught up with Barrister Nwabweze Kalistozobi for a chat on maritime labour issues. Here are highlights of that conversation.
A major stakeholders forum was held in Abuja not long ago to consider a memo prepared by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa, making a case for the Nigerian government to formally ratify the Maritime Labour Convention of 2006. The forum had the three major blocks of stakeholders in attendance. The government was ably represented by the Minister of Labour and his permanent secretary, as well as top officials of Nimasa, including the DG and the Executive Director in charge of Maritime Labour at the agency. Labour was present with a top-ranking official of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria. The employers were represented by a high-ranking official of the National Employers Consultative Association. It was needful for these three bodies to be present because the International Labour Organization ILO is at the vanguard of promoting what it termed the tripartite principle of negotiation for ensuring industrial harmony. After the Abuja event, Nimasa this week sought out the Executive Director of Maritime Labour Services and Cabotage Services at Nimasa, Barrister Nwabweze Kalistozobi, for an update on the process of ratification.
We made substantial progress in our meeting with the stakeholders in Abuja because at that meeting, both the government, the workers themselves, and the employers, as a tripartite agreement we have, structure we have, everybody was unanimous in endorsing the Maritime Labour Convention 2006. The process of ratification requires that a memo must be submitted to the Federal Executive Council by the Federal Ministry of Labour. Once government endorses it, and we're very, very positive that government will endorse it because all the stakeholders have accepted the implementation of that convention here in Nigeria.
However, the mere fact that a convention has been ratified does not give it the full force of law for implementation. We therefore ask the ED Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services to tell us what further steps are required.
As soon as the Federal Executive Council, endorses it, we will now have to deposit it in Geneva. We will now go to the ILO meeting in Geneva and formally present it. And the process would have ended. Then the domestication starts.
As a functional member of the International Labour Organization and the International Maritime Organization, Nigeria actively participated in the discussions that led to the writing of the convention. Obviously, Nigeria as a nation would expect to derive some benefits from the convention.
There are benefits we expect to gain from it. It will further enhance industrial peace and harmony in the sense that the welfare and well-being of the seafarers will be completely enhanced, because the MLC is a total package, is an aggregation of various conventions put into one document, so to say now, for implementation. So it's a holistic package. By so doing, we expect that we will have increased tonnage.
The Maritime Labour Convention of 2006 has been described in some quarters as a super convention because of its omnibus nature. Alhaji Abubakar Isa Baba, the Director of Maritime Labour Services at Nimasa, elaborated on this fact.
This convention is a combination of 67 ILO convention aimed at protecting the seafarers, improving their welfare, and any benefit that you can think of towards the seafaring business worldwide. So essentially it is more of a welfare convention for the seafarers. It is aimed at enhancing the professional ability of seafarers.
One of the chief functions of the Maritime Labour Services Department is the registration of seafarers and licensing of manning agents at the ports. We sought to know why such a high premium is placed on this aspect of its functions.
The whole essence of it is to keep tab on the seafarers for purposes of guaranteeing their welfare, creating enabling environment on board and ashore for dock workers, helping to create a friendly and secured environment at the seaport for seafarers even when they are at sea, for dock workers when they are in the ports. So principally it has also helped because when you have a pool, you will now be able to place seafarers. So it helps us in the placement of seafarers on board. It also helps us in articulating the problems, the welfare of dock workers. So it is critical because it is only when you have proper documentation in terms of the number of seafarers you have and the number of dock workers that are operating in our ports that you can now, one, train them, secondly, guarantee their welfare.
It would appear that the Nigerian maritime industry has been experiencing a renaissance of sorts in the recent past. What with significant improved safety standards vis-a-vis industrial accidents and even the vexed issue of industrial unrest. The Director of Maritime Labour Services gave us a background as to the improvements in safety standards, while Barrister Callistus Obi, the ED, explained the reason behind the prevailing atmosphere of industrial harmony.
The first thing Nimasa did was to ensure that all terminals comply strictly with the safety measures aimed at reducing industrial accidents. We ensure that all the dock workers are properly kitted, the work environment is free from any hazard, and also all seafarers are trained to avoid industrial accident. Personal safety was inculcated in them to a point where everybody knows what it takes to avoid industrial accidents.
You cannot do anything if you don't have peace and conviviality. On monthly basis, even daily, we interface with the workers. As a matter of fact, the DG was magnanimous enough, something that has never been done in this agency, to situate a liaison office of the Maritime Workers Union here in the agency. That way, you know, the communication gap is abridged. That way, we relate very well. So it's a situation where the communication is very, 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 very good. And we sit down, you know, to articulate problems together and solve them together. Then why would anybody want to cause problems?
Now that brings us to the end of this week's edition of the show. As always, we hope we kept you informed and educated. Now please don't forget, Nimasa this week is an interactive show. We love to hear from you. Just keep on sending those questions, comments, or even your criticisms to the email address currently showing on your screen. Now I'm going to be here same time, same station next week. Until then, I'm wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.